Hey guys, Dave from Nerdarchy, for Nerds by Nerds. Hang out with these nerds.
Nathan Eric.
Ryan.
Anthony.
And once again, we have special guest Anthony from Cardboard Fortress. We have a GM 911 from Max. This time we're serving up villain leftovers.
If you want Nerdarchy, the newsletter, again, you can find that over down in the description below.
So Max has a problem. He is running, what is it, a Nentir Vale?
Nentir Vale.
Nentir Vale from 4th edition, which was kind of like a sandbox adventure
Nentir Vale, the
setting.
Yeah, it was a monster book. The Nentir Vale book is really good. Even if you don't like 4th edition, it's still a really good book. I wish
The hell you say?
I wish they did more monster books like this, because it wasn't just a monster book. It certainly had a wide range of villains in it. But it's actually just a whole valley, and each monster section sort of details a group. Like you might have the Thieves Guild of this city, and it'll tell you everything you need to know about like their motivations and their interactions with other groups that are nearby, and it kind of compartmentalizes all these different factions and then the monsters that are within those factions.
So it gives you like power groups and the monsters.
Altogether, yeah. And so one of the things in the Nentir Vale that I really like is there's spread amongst the different, environments and so forth. There's all 5 of the different dragon types, and there's like a named dragon of those each types. There's like this one big dragon that's called this and has this whole background. And the one that he's dealing with is the frost dragon, the ice dragon, who's up in one of the cold areas, and who has a bunch of frost,
Yeah, I believe that the frost dragon's name is Doug. If my knowledge of Canadians...
I wish I remember the names of these. I really like the red dragon. It had 2 heads. It was super cool. But the frost dragon has a bunch of frost barbarians tribes that sort of follow it and worship it. So he had a problem where he had a fight, and these frost barbarian tribes went out and fought some Goliaths, which I'm not too sure who those are. Probably some allied faction to the PCs. It's not very clear on that. And they had a big fight, and all these barbarians fought, and it was a really big, kind of long, boring fight, probably because of so many numbers of kind of generic enemies. And they get defeated, and a bunch of them get away. And that's where we get to the leftovers part, which is super important.
Yeah, he talks about basically the white dragon covering the retreat. A bunch of the barbarians escape, and he really wants to use them again, but he's afraid of repeating what happened. He doesn't want it to be a long, drawn out, boring conflict, right. And he wants to make them interesting, which. Again, like when we were talking off camera, Anthony brought up the obvious thing is you bring them back, you power them up, you make them cooler. But you know what? Why not? You also make them interesting too. Like some of them probably have scars from the previous battle. Maybe the chieftain comes back and he only has one arm now, or or he's missing his hand and he's replaced it with a weapon or something, forged of ice. You could have fun with this. Why not? Maybe they bring back some of their warriors as undead.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of ways you can go with this, but I think the most important thing here is you have a reoccurring villain here, right? Like, having fights where the villain or the monsters or whatever show up and you just wipe them out, and next week you fight some other random thing that shows up and you wipe it out, aren't very interesting. So if you can have a villain that shows up, you beat it down, it gets away, comes back, he knows what you do, he's got, like, situations he can deal with, he can say, oh, I know he's going to do that now, I'm gonna counter that.
Yeah.
And then you do that a bunch of times, and this guy keeps kind of escaping your grasp or defeating you in some halfway, but you get ahead a little bit, you know what I mean? Like, you start to build a hatred for that character, and that's the kind of villain you want in a game.
And maybe at some point, too, like, they do some things that they're not in direct conflict with the player characters. Like, the player characters are in the midst of a fight, and they cause a friggin' avalanche while you're fighting. So they just made the fight you're in harder to deal with the thing because they've just exhausted you of some resources, and it disproportionately affects the players rather than the thing that they're actually fighting.
As long as you know it was them that did it somehow.
Oh yeah, you see them like you see the silhouette of them like going off the hill or something.
Right,
like
and if you had a group like this that you've beaten and now they're not sure if they can beat you because you just beat them, they could go out and affect you in other like diplomatic ways. They could be like, well, you guys might try to find allies here. We're going to get there first and like talk against you and spin the thing. Now that doesn't really fit for a barbarian tribe, but
Mm-hmm. And you could also split because they were fighting with Goliaths, so you could also split off where the Goliaths are like, well, we're going to do this thing, and you go and do your own thing. I mean,
And then barbarians circle back around and get the Goliaths.
Yeah, like you split the
You split the NPC party.
Yeah, the NPCs split the party for you.
Right.
And then you can either fight a smaller battle with more powerful barbarians, or have the Goliaths be harmed or be caught up in some kind of other mayhem.
Heads on pikes. You find heads on pikes.
Frozen heads on pikes.
Now, we've talked about previously cutscenes and flashbacks. This would probably be an interesting place to put them as well. Like, when you have the barbarians come back, like, you could talk about scenes that happened in the previous fight that maybe didn't get mentioned. And, you can narrate them creative. You don't want to do too much. You don't want to take up the whole game.
But you create the director's cut of the fight.
Yeah, essentially, that's what you do.
There's also lots of ways to hint at what happened to these guys in some later scene, right? Like, let's say, here's an idea I had when we were talking about this. Let's say that these barbarians get back to, they escape, they get back to wherever they're holed up, their tribal fortress or whatever, and the dragon's mad. I think it was a woman. The dragon, she's mad, like, that these guys failed her so much. Now, she saved them, so I don't know if this really fits, but she gets back there and she goes, you guys are useless. Screw you guys, and just blasts them, right? So they're all frozen solid in ice. And then you come and fight that dragon later, and you see the remains of that tribe that you fought earlier, all frozen in place, horrified. Like, that's what happened. They failed her. Now you've set up that this villain is that much more ruthless, right? Or you could say that this dragon goes, all right, I need better, like, henchmen. They go out and find some other group of villains for you to fight later on. And then those villains are wearing the corpses of these barbarians when you meet them. And you're like, I remember that guy from that fight. He got away. Now he's a helmet on this new thing. Like, that's a great way to say, like, these guys failed, and this is how harsh this villain is.
Or she kills them and raises them as undead threats.
Or
like some sort of, like,
super
super white version barbarian.
That wall.
For sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, or the other idea I had was these barbarians go back and they go, we need more gusto to fight these PCs. Like, what are we going to do? And they make some deal with the devil. Or they make some deal with a dragon where they drink her blood and they become dragon versions of themselves or something. You know what I mean? Like, something where they go, we need to double down on what we're doing. And the next time you fight them, they go, oh, you guys pushed them to this state, and now they're, like, beyond the limits.
They form Barbarian Voltron.
They form up a Barbarian Voltron, yeah.
And the dragon forms the head.
Or, slap half dragon templates on them or something. Some
Yeah,
kind of enchantment ritual or...
But what's super important here is that the PCs need to know the results of their actions, right? These guys got away, and that's slightly a failure on the PC's part. Whether or not they really had a lot of control over it doesn't really matter, but some of them got away, and that's got to mean something.
You still gotta mess with them.
Yeah, and he had suggested that he has some of these barbarians come and try to, like, escape from this and come to the PCs and be like, look, we don't want to fight you, like, you beat us fair and square, but they're going to kill us. You can have one of them get away and be like, this is what the rest of my tribe's doing because you beat them. Like, they're going crazy. They're drinking demon blood. They're making sacrifices. Like, I don't want any part of that. Just so you know, those guys went apeshit. Like, be ready for this.
They're making dragon demon blood martinis. It's really getting freaky up in there.
Yeah. But it's important that you're informed of it and you know, like, oh, crap, this is coming up.
That's actually an excellent idea, like, having the crazy stuff going on behind the scenes, but having that one barbarian that kind of is the turncoat.
Saying
comes
this is
back
against
and
our
plays.
ways type of thing.
Yeah, and it gives you a way as the GM to narrate what's going on, and not just narrate it, but give them an NPC to interact with, so they have someone to talk to and ask questions, and it's just not the GM telling them stories.
Yeah, and you could take it in a totally role-playing angle, too. Like, the whole tribe could be like, listen, our tribe rules say that if you beat us, like, we don't fight you anymore. Like, you are the victor. But our master, the dragon, like, wants us to keep fighting you, so we need you to beat the dragon. And they might have an ally in that way. Like, help us out of this.
Help us help you.
Yeah, right. Get us out of this rock and the hard place situation, and we'll help you, get deeper into this thing. So there's a lot of ways to go.
Yeah, and
You definitely don't throw these characters away. You don't just have them disappear. Like, these are usable, props.
As a GM, I always love bringing back old villains whenever I can, or even frenemies. Yeah, just so it ties your players more deeply to the campaign setting and the world that you're trying to build with them, instead of always like having the new flavor of the week, like you said. It just becomes the next thing that they're going to kill. Instead, no, you bring back familiar villains, and they really get a chance to start to hate them.
Yeah,
and that's the important part.
Yeah.
You got to get your murder hobos out of their kind of jaded murder hobo state. You want them to care about the thing they're killing, not just killing it because that's their job.
What is that term, verisimilitude, where basically you just hint at there's other things going on in the world that have important matters?
Verisimilitude,
yeah. So that it basically reinforces that the world is a breathing place where things are happening that the players aren't directly involved in. So the stories of these barbarians doing other things kind of hints at that.
Mm-hmm.
comment section below. Let us know what you guys think. How would you help this GM out? How would you do it in your game? While you're at it, like, share, and subscribe.
You can find all of our links to our social media down in the description below.
So until next time,
Stay nerdy.